Adrafinil versus modafinil. Which one is better? Is one better? What are the pros and cons? There are a lot of people talking about this. The easiest way to get to the bottom of this question is to look at the metabolism of adrafinil. Here's a diagram of the metabolism of adrafinil. And what it does is it shows what happens to adrafinil as it goes through each one of the steps of the body's metabolism. And it shows all of the major metabolites that appear at any significant level during this process. So what I'm going to do is go through it step by step, and I'm also going to go through each one of these compounds individually. So there should be two familiar compounds on here so far, adrafinil, and what may surprise some people who don't know that much about either one of the drugs is modafinil. At a very basic level, what adrafinil is a prodrug. And what a prodrug is a drug that becomes another drug. So if you look at that first step, you can see adrafinil. And then shooting out from it are two different things. So there are two major metabolites after adrafinil is metabolized. So the body changes it into different things. And the two major products of this first metabolism are modafinil and modafinil acid. So before we go further on to the next steps, I'm going to stop here and we're going to talk about the two less familiar compounds on here. The first one, which is modafinil acid, and the second one, which is modafinil sulfone. And what I'm going to do is switch over to the package insert of modafinil. So let me read you this excerpt from the modafinil package insert on the metabolism of modafinil. Only two metabolites reach appreciable concentrations in the plasma, i.e. modafinil acid and modafinil sulfone. In preclinical models, modafinil acid and modafinil sulfone were inactive or did not appear to mediate the arousal effects of modafinil. Reconsidering this chart now that we know what each one of these compounds does, let's take it from the top. We start with adrafinil. It is metabolized into one of two things. Modafinil, which is responsible for the effects which we're trying to get. And number two, modafinil acid, which is an inactive compound which, as far as we can tell, doesn't do anything. What happens from here? Well, it just proceeds down the regular modafinil metabolism pathway. Modafinil is then metabolized again into either modafinil acid or modafinil sulfone, both of which are inactive compounds from there, which are eliminated from the body. So now that we've walked through this entire chart, now you need to ask yourself, is there any reason to take adrafinil? What are the benefits of taking adrafinil? Are there any benefits of taking adrafinil? The answer is obviously no. As far as we can tell from the evidence here, adrafinil is simply a less efficient version of modafinil. Because adrafinil, you get modafinil, and you get the inactive compound modafinil acid, which doesn't do anything for us. Which explains why we've got to take more adrafinil to feel the same effects of modafinil. Because if you take 100 milligrams of modafinil and 100 milligrams of adrafinil, well, you're going to start with 100 milligrams of modafinil, which are then going to become either one of those two inactive compounds. Whereas if you start with 100 milligrams of adrafinil, well, you're not going to get 100 milligrams of modafinil, are you? You're going to get some modafinil, and you're going to get some inactive modafinil acid. On top of that, adrafinil has been associated with elevated liver enzymes, which is often a sign of liver damage. Now, a lot of people are already aware of this. It's often cited as a reason for why adrafinil was never approved in any countries. It's very well known from reputable places that this is true. But what a lot of people find odd is that they can never find a trace of it online in any studies anywhere. But let me explain to you why that is. The reason why that is, and the reason why I'm not going to present those studies myself, you'll see, is because they're all in French. If you search for it in French, you'll find the answers that you're looking for. When adrafinil was approved, it was approved in France by a French company. And shortly thereafter, modafinil was discovered. So all of the research poured into modafinil, because as you can see, modafinil is the active compound, is really what you're after. And that there is no real point into taking adrafinil, which is why most countries never approved adrafinil. Modafinil gets the same effects as adrafinil, but with less drugs and also without the elevated liver enzymes, which modafinil has not been shown to do. So for that reason, adrafinil is not that well studied, And the only studies that were conducted were the original ones, and those are in French. So that's why you can't find them. If you search for them in French, you'll see them. And that's the reason why I'm not going to present those studies either. It would take me a very, very long time to translate those. I speak very, very limited French. Je parle très peu français. Very, very little. I only took a couple years of French. And even if there were no elevated liver enzymes and no suspected liver damage, it still is just not as good as modafinil. It's still pointless anyways. So it doesn't really make much sense for me to spend time. And if you're interested, you can, like I said, you can search for them in French and you'll find them. So I hope this comparison was helpful for you. If you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.